How's it going? So, we're going to go ahead and we're going to get started with today's Nunchuk class. So today's Nunchuk class is going to be beginner, intermediate, and maybe a little bit advanced. All right, so we're basically going to be doing the same thing for everybody, but I'm going to have some little changes for if you are more intermediate or if you are more advanced. So what I want you to do right now is if you are more intermediate or advanced, I want you to grab a second pair of chucks, set them to the side, tuck them in your belt, whatever. You're going to be doing double chuck stuff. If you are beginner, then we're going to be just working on some very basic stuff. But again, we're going to be adapting it, and I'm going to show you how to do all of that. So if you feel like you can progress to it, have that extra pair of chucks. If you haven't done double chucks, might be a little bit hard, might not be too hard. So let's go ahead and get started. The first thing we're going to do is we're just going to warm up our shoulders a little bit. I'm a little bit stiff. I had a long weekend, so let's go ahead and warm them up. Let's do some forward arm circles. Not going to do a whole lot of warming up, but just a little bit. It's not too cold in here, but it's 66 degrees, so it's a tad bit chilly. All right, let's go ahead and circle backwards. Full range of motion on this. Go as big as you can. You should be feeling little pops in your shoulder as you're doing it. If you're not feeling anything like that, then you're not getting that full range of motion. All right, now let's go with hugs. So open the chest up and then stretch the back, chest, back. Alternate which hand is on top each time. And try to bring it all the way across. All the way back. All right, let's go ahead and raise one arm up. Let's pull it back. Drop it down, other arm up, pull it back. One across, pull it. Other one. All right, 2 circles back and 2 circles forward. And some head circles. All right, so first thing that we're going to do is we're going to do our inward figure 8. So if you haven't done very much Nunchuk stuff, you might have a little bit of trouble with this. If you have done it, then it might be really basic for you. But let me quickly go over what an inward figure 8 is. So if I'm making a circle, see how that's a circle? If the top part of that circle is coming towards me, as it is right now, that is inward. This would be outward. See how the top part is going away from me. Now figure 8 is when it goes from the inside, which is this, to the outside. So it's alternating. So now this is our inward figure 8. If you're having a little bit of trouble with this, drop it down, bring it to the inside, bring it to the outside. All right? And just want you to do this and try to keep a nice flow. And now I want you to have the rotation point at the tip of the chuck, right? So you see how it's at the tip of the chuck that I'm holding is not really moving. I'm not doing this. See how my wrist is moving and the chuck is moving a whole lot. That would be the same as me trying to do this same motion with a stick. Nothing wrong with it, just not what we're doing right now. So I want that tip of the chuck to be spinning at the end of the chuck that you're holding, not at your wrist. All right, so let's go ahead and let's keep doing this. If you are a little bit more advanced, then what I want you to do is I want you to start with one, and then I want you to just bring the other one in. We have a few different ways that we can do this. So what I'm doing right now is called mirror version, which means both of them are on the outside, and then both of them go on the inside. So they're mirroring each other completely. All right, both are on the outside. And then we also have this one, which is what I call the same side. So they're both on the left side of the chucks that I'm holding, and then they both go to the right side of the chucks that I'm holding. So I can do this. This is same side. See how they're moving the same direction? Or I can change it and go mirror. When I change it, I just use a little bit of a extra spin on one side, and it allows me to change whether I'm doing mirror version or if I'm doing the same side version with that little spin, okay? If you are still just working on this, just keep working on this as much as you need to. Try to get it smaller. If it helps, you can rotate the wrist, but I really want you to be able to get it here. The reason why, this is going to be a lot of a smaller motion, and smaller means quicker, right? Bigger is going to be slower, and this is a lot more effort on my part than this. This is just a small movement in my forearm. I'm using the forearm muscles to make a small movement to get that going. All right, so I showed the intermediate version. Everyone keep doing what you're doing. So if you want to do the intermediate version, which is the same side and the mirror side, now the advanced version is going to be raising one up. And now I'm going to do outward figure 8s. And I raise up the inward figure 8. And now I'm doing double outward figure 8s. And now I'm going to catch one underneath. and I'm going to go inward figure 8 with one and outward figure 8 with the other. Again, this is advanced. You might not be able to do this. This is pretty hard. If you've never done it before, it's going to take a little bit of work. And then you're just going to be alternating. So then I go both inwards again, and I'll pick one up, and then I go outwards again with one and inwards with the other, and then I pick up the other one, and I go back to double outwards. All right? And you can drop one in and change it, drop the other one in, change it, back to our double inwards. All right, now for the beginner student, I want you to go ahead and switch hands. So if you are using your dominant hand, I want you to now go to your non-dominant hand. Same thing. Everybody else, keep working on what you're working on. Intermediate, I want you working on changing from the same side to that mirror side with as much control as you possibly can. So sometimes you might have a little bit of something like that and then go where you kind of lose control. I want you to try to keep that control as much as you can, going from that mirror side to that same side. And again, advanced, you're just going to be working on doing opposite, whether it's one will be doing an inward figure 8, then the other would be doing an outward figure 8, and then changing. So keep working on whichever one you feel comfortable on. If you feel like you're in the intermediate stage and you feel like you got that and you want to try the advanced stage, go ahead, go for it. No problem with that. All right, we're going to do this just a little bit more. Do whichever ones you feel like you need to. If you're advanced, you can work on double catching them, trying to catch them both at the same time, where one goes over, one goes under. You can work on here and throwing an outward figure 8 strike, raising it up, outward figure 8 strike, and keeping that going. Again, wherever you feel like you're at. All right, so the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to add a little bit of footwork. And the reason we're doing this, we're actually just going to be building up to doing the very first part of Blitz Kata, so we're going to be working on that today. So the footwork is going to look like this. I'm here, I'm in what's called a back stance. A back stance, you can have your heels. If you're doing my Taekwondo course, your heels need to be in the line. If you're not, you don't have to have the heels in the line. But if you are in my Taekwondo course, your heels have to be in the line when you're doing this. So this is our back stance, a little bit more weight on the back leg. Both of our knees are bent. We're going to step into a forward stance. Then this back leg here is going to circle around, and I'm going to turn into another back stance. I step together, I step out, forward stance, back leg comes around, back stance. Together, out, forward stance, back leg comes around, back stance. I'm going to show that from the front. From here, in, out, back foot comes around, in, out, forward stance, back foot comes around. Okay? So that is the very basic version. If that's all you need to do right now, go ahead and do that. Just together, step, back. Together, step, turn. So do it a few times and then switch sides. I want you to do it like 3 or 4 times and then switch sides. If you keep doing it, you're just going to get dizzy. So make sure you are switching sides. All right. The little bit more intermediate, this is still kind of beginner. So if you do feel comfortable with that pretty fast as a beginner, you can go ahead and add the next one into it, which will be here. I'm going to be doing an inward figure 8 with whatever hands or whatever foot's in front. That's going to be the hand that I'm going to be doing this with. So now I'm going to step up and I'm going to raise this up over my shoulder. And now I'm going to step back or forward. I'm going to bring it underneath and pop it back out. All right. So the underneath motion looks like this. When I'm raising out here, I do 1 circle to the outside, and I want to catch. 1 circle to the outside, and I want to catch. That's called a side swing. So a little bit more intermediate. You might know this already. Step up, here, turn. Step, turn. Ideally, you want to pop this chuck out right as you go into that back stance. You want to pop it out. Okay, so that's going to be the more intermediate version. The more advanced version, I'm going to give you a few options, right? So I don't want you to have to do one thing. If you're more advanced, I want you to play around a little bit. So you can do an adjust the chucks, which is the triangle strike, starting with the other one. So as I step, I triangle strike, do my adjust the chucks, and come here. Triangle strike looks like this. I could do a cross strike. Cross strike is just much more horizontal than a triangle strike instead of at that angle. Or this is actually the one, because I don't have this one in the curriculum so much, but it's easy. You're just going to do a outward figure eight. So I'm here, step, outward figure eight as this one comes up, and I'm going to bring it down, and this one pops back here. So again, what that's going to look like, I'm going to go here, outward figure eight strike, and turn. So the outward figure eight strike is going to hit, and then it's going to bounce right back over that shoulder. Hit, bounce back right over that shoulder. So I'm here, step, outward figure eight strike, turn. Outward figure eight strike, turn. From the side. Again, if you're doing beginners, just keep working on that footwork. If you want to add that side swing in there, comes up when the feet are together, side swing down, catch as you step into that forward stance, turn, pop it right out. Again, back to the advanced. Let's do it from this side. So I'm going to go here. I'm raising this one up as I'm stepping through, striking here. It's going to bounce right back up. I'm going to side swing down and pop it right out whenever I do that. Try to get that timing. So I'm going to take this one out. All right, I'll use it. So I'm here. I want to time that. Here, it catches in motion, and then it pops out as soon as my heel, this heel right here, touches the ground. That's when it's going to pop out. I'm going to go here. So you want to really kind of work on that timing of when you want to pop that out. I want you to keep working on that. Again, switch sides if you haven't, so you don't get dizzy by just spinning and spinning and spinning. Or you can just slow it down if you are just really trying to get down the motion on one side. Try to practice first and most with your right leg forward, because that's going to be the one we're going to be using the most for the form, using this footwork pattern. So again, just the footwork pattern. I'm going to back stance, together, out, back leg, around. Together, out, back leg, around. And this is our step and turn footwork. It's a little bit basic, but if you haven't done it before, it might be a little bit confusing, and that's all right. So don't worry. You can see what I'm doing for the more advanced stuff. You're going to get there one day too. At first, these were confusing for me as well. You start to get it, and you just start getting it down. So remember, all of this is going to have progressions where you can make it easier or harder. Keep going while I'm talking, please. Don't stop whenever you're doing it. But all of these start off easy, and then there's always ways that you can make it harder. So if you ever see me doing something and it just seems really simple to you, grab another pair of chucks. Make it a little bit harder. Find a way to make it a little bit harder. Know what I'm looking for the curriculum, but this is all about having fun, and so I want you to just add your own flavor into everything if you can, right? All right, so that was our step and turn footwork. So the next thing that we're going to do is going to be our side strike. So I'm just going to go ahead and put this away for a second. So our side strike for the beginners is going to look like this. I'm going to pull this out over my shoulder, and now my chest is squared that way. When I pull it out, notice how my torso is turned. This shoulder is cocked back. This arm's out in front. Sometimes I go here, kind of like I'm about to throw a baseball. Sometimes I kind of keep it a little bit closer. It's smarter to keep it in closer. If you actually start sparring, you'll understand why, because it hurts. So we're here, pull it out, and then strike. Now when I strike, notice how the knot in my belt started facing to the front, and it actually turns when I pull it back, and then it turns again as I strike. And I'm going to catch it underneath. So here, strike, and now as you strike, try to have this in the most horizontal plane that you can. So my hand shouldn't be moving here. See how my hand is up and then moving down? This will be more of a triangle strike, or that's what it's going to turn into. So I want it horizontal. I'm striking towards the face so that you can see the chuck is going towards my face or my head level whenever I'm doing this. But my hand, the plane that my hand is moving on is horizontal. I'm not going to be moving diagonal like this. Move horizontal. Turn your hips whenever you do this, and you're going to lead with the palm up. So don't go here. We're not doing a hooking strike right now. We're coming here with a forehand strike. Turn it over just past that center line. Turn the hand over, then the palm goes down. I want this part of the chuck that I'm not holding to hit my side, and it's going to allow it to bounce. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to pull my elbow of the chuck or of the arm that I'm striking with back and drop. Strike, pull it back, and drop. So I'm pulling my elbow back, and you see how it's bringing that chuck back when I pull that elbow back? I'm going to pull it back, and then I drop it down. Ideally, you want to catch it with this 90-degree angle here. if this is your first time doing it, don't worry about that too much. Just know that that's what you should be doing. So you're going to pull it out, strike, back, out, strike, back. Work on turning those hips with each one of these. Not sure, because I'm using the mic, if you can hear the swishing sound, or if you can get that nice swishing sound each time you do the strike, it'll be good. All right, a little bit more advanced, double chucks. So we're going to work on cross strikes. A cross strike is basically what I will call a side strike when you're doing double chucks, because we don't catch it underneath anymore, so it'll look like this. So you see it's the exact same motion when I'm doing cross strikes as when I do just a side strike. Same thing, except for now I'm doing it one, and then I'm raising it up instead of catching, because I'm going to go with that next strike. So a little bit more advanced. Work one side, here, you can raise it up. One side, here, raise it up. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. So this is kind of the first stage of the double chucks for the cross strikes, is I'll go 1, 2, 3, stop. 1, 2, 3, stop. 1, 2, 3, stop. If you're still working on the single, just keep working on your single while we do this. The next little progression from there is going to be 1, 2, and now as 3 goes for that raising up motion, 1 on the other hand starts. 2 as 3 goes for that raising up motion, 1 on the other hand starts. So now they start to blend together. So you notice there's no point in time where both of my hands are stopped. Like this, where I have that stop, that's the beginner, that's the learning motion for the double chucks. But then you want to start blending them in together so that there's no point where both of the hands are stopped. So I would say that's still intermediate type level. All right, so work on that. And then for the beginners, whenever you are doing your side strike, make sure you're not striking with that elbow upwards. You shouldn't really be doing this as much, but keep that elbow down when you're going for that strike. Elbows down. If you keep the elbow up, striking here, that will almost always cause that diagonal movement, which turns it into a triangle strike. So keep that in mind. If you're doing double chucks, you're going to go here, but you're going to drop it, the elbow. So I want that elbow up to clear it for the other strike, but as I'm going for it, I'm going to drop my elbow. Drop the elbow as I go for those strikes. So I don't want to have them up as I'm striking. All right, so now the little bit more advanced isn't cross strikes anymore. It's just going to be doing a different thing. So what I'll be doing is I'd pick one side. So I'm going to do with my right hand, my dominant side, I'm going to just do nothing but cross strikes. And then I can add in, okay, that's my outward figure eight strike. If you know that one, outward figure eight strike. All right, and then what's next? Okay, I want to do cross strike. And I'm going to keep doing it with my right hand. Okay, what's next? I want to do a triangle strike. Okay, what's next? I want to do a diagonal strike. Ooh, I messed that one up a little bit. So diagonal strike breaks that pace, that 1, 2, 3 pace. So it's a little bit weird. If you hear this clicking, I'm going to try to make it now. If you hear the clicking on my back, that's fine. Don't worry about that. It might mess you up a little bit at first. There's nothing wrong with it if they click when they're behind your back. So don't even worry about that. But again, the most advanced stage is going to be doing the same thing with one and then going through other strikes. Whether I want it to be my diagonal strike, I want it to be a triangle strike, my outward figure eight strike, whatever. And then, all right, go ahead right now. If you're doing the beginner and you've been working that same side, go ahead and work your non-dominant side. Same thing. Pull it out, strike, pull it out, strike. Now you're going to be working on your non-dominant hand. If you're doing the beginners, everybody else is doing double chucks, so keep doing that same thing. Advanced, switch hands if you need to, and now you'll be doing non-dominant hand is doing the cross strike, and then our dominant hand does whatever you want. So that's, again, that outward figure eight. Maybe I want to go into the double cross strikes, and then maybe I want to go into a triangle strike with that. So again, I'm looking at those angles. So my dominant hand is keeping that horizontal plane of motion, and then my non-dominant hand is keeping the horizontal plane, and my dominant is going at that diagonal for the triangle. So I want to really make sure that I'm doing those correct angles there. And then maybe I want to go into that diagonal strike, right? So a diagonal strike doesn't have the bounce back across the belly. It just goes down and back, down and back. All right. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to move on. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to just work on the opening of Blitz Kata. So this is the opening sequence. So I'm just going to put one down. I'm going to show it to you first, and I'm going to explain it to you. So the opening sequence of Blitz Kata looks like this. So bow. And from the side. Alright, so that's the opening sequence. It's basically what we've done. The only thing we really haven't spent time working on so much is our side swing down. So I'm going to actually talk about this a little bit more now. So our side swing down, pretty basic. When we're over our shoulder, I want the chuck you're holding to point directly to the sky, and you're going to do an outside circle, and then you're going to catch it. Notice how the chuck that I'm holding stays pointed towards the sky. I can do this where I point it, but I would prefer that you just keep it up to the sky. So I don't want to really roll it down. I used to show it like that, but I actually think it's a little bit easier if you just keep it pointed to the sky the entire time. And what I mean by the outside circle is, remember, it's on the outside. So this is an inside circle, which if you're doing it with this, boom, you might hit yourself in the face. So be careful about that. So outside circle, and then just allow it to come under. Outside circle, and then I do the outside circle, and notice the height of this. It's about my eyebrow height. It's the height of that. But now when I'm going to catch it, I drop it down to armpit height. Trying to catch with that 90-degree angle as much as possible. Here, here. So I'm up, and then my hand drops down for that catch. So practice that a little bit. If you are advanced, you do this. You can alternate. You can go for just like a simple down sometimes. So I'd say the intermediate version of this would be here, doing both of them at the same time. And the more advanced version of this exact same thing would be to alternate one, and now this one's going to come up as that one comes down. Comes up as that one comes down. Up. And now try to not, I just did it because it breaks the count. I want to try not to have a circle up. So I could do this where I have a circle up. That keeps the same count, but again, more advanced just brings it up as the other one circles. So I'm going to slow down the pace of the one going up so that it can match at the same time with the one going down that has that extra circle. So keep that in mind whenever you're doing this. I added the circle there. Try not to do that. Alright, so let's go ahead and let's go back to the opening of Blitz Kata. So for our beginner students, we're going to, let's walk through just how you start off. So attention stance, hands and feet are together, toes are together. We're holding in kind of a middle grip, maybe a little bit of a low middle grip, but not a long grip, so not all the way, and not a high grip, so I'm not holding close to the connection point. More towards the center or slightly towards the lower end of the center. And we're going to start here. We're going to bow, and now our left foot is going to step out as our hands come together. I'm going to grab one chuck in each hand, and I'm going to bring my hands in close to my chest, and I'm going to press out, and I'm going to keep a bit of a bend. So I'm not going to extend my arms all the way out, having this really far away. I'm going to keep it relatively close, but maybe about a foot's distance, American foot, distance away. Here. All right, good. Together. You're going to bow. Hands come in whenever you're doing that, and then they press out a little bit. Now, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to do a side strike. As we do that, we're going to step forward with our left foot. So I'm pulling it out, I'm stepping, and I'm just touching the ball of my foot for right now to the ground, and I'm going to drop my heel down as I go all the way through. Now, if you're actually doing the kata, there's a kia here, and then we're going to bring it back. So, again, from this point, pull it out, I step, kia, and now I'm going to bring it back. Now, the difference here, I'm going to show from the side, is that I'm not going to catch it underneath. I'm going to strike, I'm going to turn, and I'm going to hit it off my back as I turn here, and I raise it up. So I'm just catching it here. I'm doing what's called a simple up, where you simply just raise it up next to your shoulder. Now you're going to step forward, side swing down, step back, doing that step and turn footwork, pop it out, inward figure eight. All right, so let's do that again. Again, this is working for the beginners. If you are more intermediate or more advanced, add some extra stuff. I want you to do that exact same thing, but I want you to do something with your left hand. I'll give you a few options in a second, but try to figure it out. You might be able to figure out the things I'm going to tell you to do already. So again, for the beginners, hands and feet are together. Let's face this way this time. Together, slide bow. Both hands, press out as the left foot steps out. Now the left foot steps forward. I'm going to strike, making sure I'm turning my belt past that center line as I'm doing this. Strike, bring my elbow back as I turn. I'm here. See how this tip is pointed and touching me? I raise up. I'm going to step through, turn, and pop it right out. So that's the opening sequence of Blitz Kata. Again, here, bow, present, step, kia. Notice not my belt is past the center line. That's the center line. It's past the center line. Bring it across as I turn, raise it up, I catch it, side swing down, pop it out. All right, so advanced. Let's we'll go with advanced and intermediate. We're both going to be put together on this one. So we're going to start here. Now we bow, in, present out. Now, as I'm going to go for that side strike, what I want you to do, again, you have options. This isn't actually Blitz Kata. This is not part of any kata. So I want you to really just kind of be able to play around as everyone else practices it. So now we're going to step forward with that left, pulling that knot in our belt back, pulling our hips back. And then I'm going to just side strike here, just like I would before. I'm going to turn. I'm going to face the side so I can show you this a little bit better. Here, step, side strike, turn, outward figure eight strike. So then we have that bounce. I'm going to raise it back up, inward figure eight. So all I really did here that I added for this first part is that as I cocked this out, I also pulled this up. So I'm bringing both of the chucks into a ready position here. I'm going to strike with one, turn. Now this left hand is going to do an outward figure eight strike with the bounce, side swing under, inward figure eight. All right, relatively easy. We're just adding two more movements, but now we're just putting something in with our left hand. So here, out, step as we pull it out, strike, turn, outward figure eight, bounce, in. And now if you're watching me and you're still, if you're a beginner and you're watching this, trying to get it with the one hand, just watch what I'm doing. I'm doing the exact same thing, except for ignore what I'm doing with the left hand. Do everything exactly the same as what I'm doing. Just ignore the left hand, and that's what you should be doing. So all I'm adding to this is a little bit of non-dominant hand movement into the form. Here. So we're gonna bow, out, step, strike, turn, outward figure eight, in. That's it. All right. So we're advanced. Do something else. What else do you want to do? Here, here, pull it out. Maybe I want to add a different strike. Maybe I want to do a side strike and pull it out. Maybe, maybe when I do this, I want to pull it out. I want to outward figure eight, and then I want to go for a side strike, and then maybe I want to add a triangle strike and turn that into our adjust the chucks. So let's see, what does that look like? So right now I'm just kind of playing around. Add stuff in. See what works for you. So we're here. I can pull it out. Outward figure eight strike, turn, and then just do an adjust the chucks, and then pop it out. So you have all these different options. I just want you to be able to kind of play around with everything, whatever you need to. So I teach the katas, but you should be able to just add stuff in, play around with them, make them your own, right? If you're going for testing, then I want you to show me the katas the exact way that I showed it to you. But that doesn't mean that you can't play around with it. If you want to go compete in a competition, maybe you think that something should be a little bit changed, so you do it slightly different than the way I showed you. The judges aren't going to know. Maybe they will. If they watch my course, they will. But most of the time they won't. And they might like the things that you add. It might make it look good. So have fun with these. That's going to be the whole goal. So I'm going to show it one more time for the beginners, just with one hand. The only thing I took off for the beginners is a catch when I was doing that, because obviously I couldn't do that. But everything else was the same when I was doing it for doubles. So we're here, bow, step out, present, cock it over your shoulder, kia, turn the hip all the way through, pull it back as I turn around. Now say I caught it here. Step, side swing, inward figure eight. That's it. All right, so that is the opening sequence. There is still a little bit more. We've got a left side sequence, we've got a right side sequence, we've got a back sequence, and then we've got an ending sequence, and that would be the entire blitz kata. So it's not a long form, relatively easy to learn. All right, if you want to do that, I think there's video already on YouTube of watching that. If not, you can go sign up on the GMAU, and you can watch that entire thing. You can learn how to do the blitz kata, and again, add things in. Have fun with this. That's going to be the whole goal. All right, so what I'm going to go ahead and do now is we're just going to freestyle a little bit, and I'm going to kind of recap what I went over today. So freestyle, if you have double chucks, do double chucks. If you have single chucks, do single chucks. Maybe you want to do like hand rolls. People love hand rolls. If you don't know hand rolls, don't worry about hand rolls. If you want to just practice your switching, you want to practice your outward figure eights, your front strikes, your side strikes. Practice whatever you want. Just play around. That's the point of freestyle. Freestyle is just where you have fun and you try not to hit yourself. That's the goal. All right, so the things that I went over today was the inward figure eight, and then I went over the step and turn footwork. So we stepped up, out, turn. So our step and turn footwork, make sure you can see that. Step, out, turn, together, out, turn. So we went over that. I showed you how to do a side strike, a full side strike where you catch it under. I showed you how to do a side swing, okay? And all of these things, I, of course, added the intermediate and advanced, which would just be adding the left hand, doing a few other things whenever we're doing that. And then we went over the opening sequence of blitz kata, and I showed you, again, a few different ways. So the intermediate and advanced students, things that we went over today for you guys was for intermediate, practicing our same sides, inward figure eight, and then going and doing our mirror version, inward figure eight. Our advanced was going to be switching from outward figure eight with one, or doing an outward figure eight with one hand and doing inward figure eight with the other hand. Then we did step and turn, and then on those, we just added a few things in there whenever we were doing this. So we could do the outward figure eight strike. You could do the cross strike whenever you're doing that. You have those different options. For the side strike portion, we did for the intermediate just cross striking, alternating cross striking, and then we also did for the advanced adding different things in there, whether it's an outward figure eight, another cross strike, a triangle strike, a diagonal strike. We have our different options of what we can be doing, and then we went over our opening sequence of blitz kata, and I added a few extra things in there, mainly after you started pulling them both out and then doing the first part of it and then doing an outward figure eight strike here, or whichever of the other hand strikes you want to do. Or you could, the other option that I showed was to start off here with that non-dominant hand outward figure eight strike and then doing the exact same thing when we turn and face the backside. And then we went, and we are where we are now. So we just kind of play around a little bit, add those in. See what you can do. If you are an advanced student and you've watched all of the classes for your belt level, go back to the yellow chevron levels, go back to the green chevron levels, the blue chevron levels, and add in left hand movements. So just always have the other hand, other than switching. Obviously, you can't really do switching with both hands, but everything that's just strikes, see where you can add the left hand in, or I'm going to say left hand, it's probably your non-dominant hand. Add it in. Have fun with it. That's the whole thing. So go back and just play around. See, okay, do the thing. Oh, I can add this in here. Oh, I can add this in here. That's going to be one of the most fun things when you actually get up to the higher chevron levels and you're just able to like allow both your hands to kind of just do whatever they want to do whenever you're playing around with the chucks. It just makes it a lot more fun whenever you're able to do it, and you have that coordination, which is always a really fun thing to do. So hopefully you enjoyed today's class, and I will see you next time.